You know, I had to give you some analysis on this tariff issue and about making Canada the 51st state. You guys know I had to come up here and speak to you about it because this is so unpredictable. Like these times that we're living in, I could never have thought that we would be at this point. I remember when I was a kid. You remember when Quebec was supposed to separate? It was years ago. I'm dating myself. I was in middle school when it happened. And there was a big referendum and Quebec wanted to separate. And it was a really close call, you know. I think the referendum was only 49% in favor of Quebec staying with Canada. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that Quebec was going to leave and we were going to become part of America. And guess what? When I was a kid, I actually wanted that to happen. But now, after all of the history that I've read, after everything that I understand about geopolitics and everything like that, it's not something that I'm looking forward to. But here's the situation. This whole 51st state thing that Trump brings up, I think he's serious about it because the notion of the fentanyl situation or border security, you guys know already that it's worse for us when it comes to border security than it is for America because they bring all the guns and everything that comes up in here. Everything we get that's contraband comes from America. So it has nothing really to do with border security. There's something bigger that's going on that we don't really know about. Because another thing I'm doing is I'm looking and I did a search for all the economists in America to find out if there's anyone who said that this is a favorable thing to do economically. And it turns out there's nothing. I can't find anything. All the economists are saying that this is just completely going to destroy the economy. Our nations are so integrated that it's going to cause a problem. And we don't even know how that problem is going to manifest itself. Here's the thing. When it comes to this tariff stuff, if it really goes through and it really starts to make an impact, here's the situation. What Canada has to do and all Canada can do is hit back hard, fast to make it so painful that they ease back and say, forget about it. But the problem is if they withstand that retaliation and they're able to maintain this is going to be a different way of how we economically deal with things, and it's something that we will feel. The problem is, can't predict nothing. If you guys notice, I shot a couple of videos and then I come in and I go. It's because I can't predict anything. To analyze this situation is it's so complex. It's so complex that we just don't know what is going to happen. Right? But something bigger is happening here. This play is something I did not expect, and I don't understand. A lot of times, some of you guys may know me, and I'll look back, and I used to have a semi-favorable view of Trump, meaning that I didn't think he was as bad as people said he was, like back in the first administration. Now, I don't know what's going on. There's something that's happening. Another thing I want to say about Trump is you remember how difficult it was for him to get in power the first time? So if you look at Dan Bongino, who's part of the Trump administration now. Right now, he's the deputy FBI director, if I'm correct. I might be wrong about that. But Dan Bongino wrote a book about how Trump was spied on by the deep state, so to speak. So they were spying on him the whole time he was in the White House in his first term. So they must have analyzed him and figured out how he moves and all of that kind of thing. Because now with this election, they tried to assassinate him. It didn't work. And they're like, okay, you know what? We're going to let this guy go, be himself, because we know how he is. And now what's going on with this tariff situation and other things that are going on behind the scenes, Trump and Europe, America and Europe has issues right now, right? It's not, it's at the most difficult point since I've been alive, as far as American relations with Europe. And the worst part about it is America kind of brought it on themselves by pushing this whole Ukraine war thing. If you really study what happened, we're going back 14 years. There was a coup of a democratically elected leader in Ukraine that was a bit pro-Russia. They overthrew him, put the guy in who's in power right now, and they started to bomb the provinces of Russian-speaking citizens. This is the reason why Russia went in and invaded. And they all did it. And then the whole time now, Europe and America is like, yeah, we're for this. And they give all this money and weaponry, everything to Ukraine. And now all of a sudden, Trump comes in and he's like, yo, forget about this. This war is over. Done with that. No more, none of this type of stuff. And I'm not going to support it now. So how would you think that Europe would feel after that? Right? Europe will be like, they'd be vexed. They'll feel betrayed in a certain way, even though, from my analysis, they should have just let the democratically elected leader from Ukraine stay in power, run elections, and then just let them be free to be themselves. Instead, you have to do this coup situation and then start firing off weapons into the Russian-speaking provinces. And now here we are. But there's something going on that is deeper. This is much, much deeper. This talk of Greenland and all of this, this is something that is beyond like anything I could have expected. Like sometimes I analyze these things and I look into these things and I try to figure out what's happening so that I can make my own plans, my own moves, and even reason with you about all this stuff. But this is so unpredictable, really unpredictable. But I had to come on and say something about these tariffs and what's going on with the 51st state, because I actually think the man's serious about this, because it can't be about fentanyl and contraband, because we're on the worst side of it. Look at how much guns are on the street. Where did it come from? Why do we live in even our hood life culture, right? It's influenced by their culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, where do Bloods and Crips come from? We have it here, but it's a cultural exportation to Canada. But here's the thing about Canada, you guys have to understand. If you really look into it, right? Justin Trudeau had a meeting with the King of England. Remember, this is British territory in a sense. They consider the King of England our head of state. Is Canada even really a sovereign country? When we have elections, our elections are called by the Governor General, who's a representative of the British royal family. Now, it's a formality. It's not like a real policy thing, but here we go. Maybe Trump is dealing with something because he has an issue with Europe right now. He has an issue with Europe. So all this 51st state business could be a certain situation about Europe, because Canada essentially is Great Britain. Really and truly, in terms of what our territory is. This is why those of you who are the descendants of either Nigeria, Jamaica, or any part of the British Commonwealth, when you guys immigrated to Canada, it was sort of like you immigrated to another province in the British royal family's territory. You didn't really immigrate to another country. Maybe this 51st state situation has something to do with the oligarchs in the European royal families and that kind of thing. I read somewhere that one of the reasons why you have this Cold War situation between America and Russia and Europe and Russia is because the Russians removed their oligarchies. The Russians got rid of their royal families, and now Russia is much more of a republic. So this is why the royal families of Europe want to subdue Russia, because the royal bloodlines in Russia have been taken out of power, whereas the royal bloodlines in Europe are still in power, but they have governments that cover them. You see what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that this tariff situation could be something to do with that too, right? There's a lot of things. One of the reasons why I'm like, I haven't been putting up as much videos and stuff is because I want to organize my thoughts better. Right now, I'm just rambling on, speaking about what's coming into my head, but there's a better way of doing this. And so I'm working on systems right now so that I can be more efficient and be more based on a schedule and to come through with things. But I don't want to like let this day go by and I don't say something and bring this up. But yo, comment. Tell me what you think, man. Tell me what you think is going on with this 51st state issue, because it's not about fentanyl or border security, because it's worse for us. We're getting the stuff from America that's messed up. They want to really turn us into the 51st state. That's what I think is going on. I think it's serious, which is why we have to, like, whatever organization or whatever group or your social circles, whatever you're doing, just tighten up a little bit. Get closer to each other, because this situation, for me, it reminds me of the pandemic, because this is something that right now everything seems normal, everything seems cool, right? But if this thing really persists, we've never been through a situation like that. I've looked at all of the economists. I did some serious studying. Like I used AI to do a detailed search, looking for some economist that has a favorable view of this tariff situation. There's no one. All I was reading about was economists that were saying that this is going to cause a whole lot of job losses and economic pain. And for what? Fentanyl? Really? Yo, comment y'all. I just had to be able to come out here and share with you what I'm dealing with and what I'm thinking about with this whole situation. But yeah, man, you don't know. We'll link up if anything. All right, bless.